Hi, I'm Raffaella, and you're watching Consequence.
Hello, hello. I am Paolo from Consequence. I am here today with our August Artist of the Month, Raffaella. Raffaella, we are here today in your childhood home in New York City. It's an incredible home. Everywhere I look, there's a new piece of art that just is incredible to see.
Naked ladies everywhere.
I love it. I love it. But first and foremost, I want to say congratulations. Your new EP, Live, Raff, Love, Act 1 is about to come out. We're so excited. Just want to ask, first of all, how are you feeling?
Thank you so much. Well, you're making it feel very exciting. So
Act 1, it's a show. I love it.
Yes, it's very, very theatrical. I'm stoked. It's been a long time coming. It's been like over 2 years in the making. So it's definitely, I'm very nervous. Feels like I'm sending my children off to college, but I'm very excited to do that. So I'm so glad that you like it.
Oh, of course. So I do want to talk first and foremost about the title for this work, Live, Raff, Love. I think it's honestly amazing. And it's, of course, like Live, Laugh, Love is an iconic statement. And I think that that's like its own kind of, has its own baggage, I guess, as a statement. So I just want to hear like why that was the choice for the title of this and what Live, Laugh, Love means in the context of Raffaella.
Totally. Well, I guess like Raff is technically not how you say my name, but my very close friends call me Raff, some of them, and I trust them more than I trust myself. So I believe that they must be right. So I think if I allow everybody else to call me Raff, maybe they will also become my friends and
nice.
and are therefore, exonerated from the mispronunciation. But if you're British, you'll say it right, so that's cool.
Raff.
Raff, yes.
Raff.
But yeah, I actually just texted my friends who I made the album with, just me, Jake, Nathan, and Caleb, and I was like, hey, what do I name this album? And Nathan responded, Live, Raff, Love, as a joke. And I said, thank you.
That's it. That's the one.
It.
That's
and he said, oh no, I was joking. And I said, no, that's perfect. So I can't take full credit for that, but yeah, it's just I thought it was funny, but I also just thought it was very indicative of how I write music, which is just sort of taking the joke seriously.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's definitely like a cliche, but one that you turn on its head. So
I love it.
It's no longer a cliche, maybe.
Amazing. For merch, I think you should have like a pillow that says
that's
Live,
a great
Raff,
idea.
Love.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So you are dividing this sort of album into 2 acts.
Yes.
So I want to hear what the impetus to sort of split these two into 2 different wholes and kind of what the thread between those 2 is.
Totally. I think that, I actually didn't really know how to structure this album until I wrote the last song, which is not like chronological. It's not the last song on the track record. The last song we wrote was Grown Up, and it was very fun, and it kind of made everything fall into place, and I saw it as a play.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the narrative of a child of divorce learning how to love for the first time, at least do it in the right way. So the first act is very like bright, very poppy, very pink and shiny, and there's a lot of levity that I think is kind of filled in with the second act, which is a lot darker, a lot more introspective. So yeah, it made sense to structure it like a play, because that's sort of the arc of a play. It gets very serious in Act 2, and there's a lot more earnestness involved there, and that's very just dark inherently for me. To be earnest is very daunting.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I think that was sort of the impetus, was to mirror the structure of a play and the narrative that comes with it.
I love that. I have to ask, we were talking a little bit about this earlier, but are you a theater kid? Were you in theater in high school, college?
I struggle with this question, but because of my own internalized shame, and also because I have to say the theater kids are the scariest kids.
As a former theater kid, I guess I'd agree.
You get it, yeah.
More or less.
They're wonderful, depending on where you are. I mean, I grew up in New York City, where people took it very seriously. And I was never great at group activities, unfortunately. I've always wanted to be, but theater was very like, dramatic, and I think I was too sensitive. But I did go to a theater camp in Kenosha, Wisconsin growing up.
Ooh.
Very random. My mom was born in what was Northern Rhodesia, is now Zambia, and then was moved to Wisconsin when she was like 8 and was really bullied. She was Jewish and had very curly hair, and she was a year younger. She had this weird accent that was like Rhodesian and South African, and she was also living in Milwaukee, so it was like a Midwest. Anyway, she was very bullied. She was sent to this theater camp, and she thrived.
Amazing.
So she sent all of us there, and I too kind of thrived there. I loved it there, and there were like 8 Dorothys to every production of Wizard of Oz, so everyone got to be a star.
Oh,
and,
I love that.
it was very helpful for self-confidence. So I was a theater kid in that respect. I loved it there.
Yeah.
And I love theater. Like, I love Sondheim. I love Rodgers and Hammerstein. I love the classics. I will cry every single time I see a good Broadway show. The newer ones, I'm not as emotional
Me too.
for.
Me too.
Yeah.
I like the Golden Age stuff. It's
The
nice.
Golden Age stuff is my sweet spot. So yeah, I am both a theater kid and also afraid of them.
So going back to the music, as we were talking about the new EP, you had mentioned that like the songs on this first part are very bright and very pink. I love that to describe them. But yeah, there's definitely some like pop punk energy in some of the songs. Versus in some of the other songs, they're not quite dark like that second part is, but they are a little bit more low key, a little bit more folky. Like certainly that first song.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I'm curious at like what you were thinking in terms of sonics and in terms of the overall feel of these songs. You know, how you sort of came up with that variety.
Totally. A lot of it was sort of just like gut instinct, like kind of just what made sense to me personally.
Yeah.
It wasn't like thought out as much, but then I think I could justify that maybe through being a little bit more cerebral. But yeah, Come to New York City it is more earnest. But I liked the idea of opening the album with that because it was like my first experience of just being really vulnerable and saying that I wanted to dive into this relationship. It was also my like mating call to the person that I ended up making this record with. So I feel like it worked out. I lured him, and now we made this music together. So it felt like an opening to me.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones, like Lipstick, is a little bit of both. It's like kind of folky and but also like has hyper pop elements to it.
Mm-hmm.
And that it felt like the right closer for Act 1, just because the first song off of Act 2 is also about the same person, but it's like through a much darker context.
So continuing on, I want to hear a little bit about, obviously, as you had said, some great collaborators on this record. You made a lot of it with Jake, of course, and with Charlie Hickey and Marshall Vore.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd love to hear, like what it's like sort of stepping in and working with new people. You're a big collaborator. You work with so many other people. So what's it like kind of bringing your music, bringing those songs to different kinds of people?
Totally. I mean, it's amazing to hear how a song can exist in one world and then totally change in another world. I wrote Buick with Marshall and Charlie in like February of 2020.
Wow, right before
it was like right before the world ended. Emotions were raw. Something was coming. We could feel it. But yeah, we wrote it the day after I had like experienced what the song is about. So I had like the beach towel with me. It was like very much like sensory inspiring.
Yeah.
Bad grammar, but hopefully
that's about right.
You catch my drift. Cool. But yeah, we wrote it, and it was like a sad, sad piano song. And that's how I felt at the time. And then I was playing it for Jake, and I was like, I think this should be a happy song. I think it should sound happy, because I was really trying so hard to feel happy, even though the context of this is very sad. And he was like, yeah, cool, let's do it. So then we just totally changed the song, and it sounded like something that we made together versus like something that I did make it with Marshall and Charlie, but that was like almost a different
its own
thing
sphere.
entirely. So it was cool. It was cool to like see both versions exist, and but yeah, collaborating is my favorite thing in the world to do.
I love it. I also want to ask about another song that you're about to release called Grown Up, which, as you said, was like the last song that you had finished working on for the record, which I do think, that's very fitting. Some great lines on that song. I think one is that you're grown up, you go buy your own groceries?
Yeah, at the grocery store.
At the grocery store. So just tell me a little bit about that song, and continue on about what it represents in the album and how it kind of is a symbol for your life at this moment.
Totally. I had this feeling one day when I went into the grocery store, and I had that thought where it's like, I can buy whatever I want. And that was like my first indication of being an adult for some reason. That is really what did it for me, was being at the grocery store and buying produce, especially like carrots, and, learning that scallion is the same thing as green onion, and
who knew,
things
right?
I just didn't know. But yeah, I moved out of this home that we're in 2020. I moved to Minneapolis. I went with a backpack thinking I was going to be there for 2 weeks, and ended up staying for 2 years, and now we have a house. So I was learning how to be an adult through that whole process, how to liberate myself from being a child to my parents. And through that, I felt the most like a child, but also the closest to adulthood that I've ever felt.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I was genuinely trying really hard to illustrate what adulthood is seeming like to me. And by doing that, I sounded so much like a child.
Yeah.
Which I think is what adulthood is really feeling like a kid while you happen to be doing grown-up tasks.
I love it. It reminded me of like the two kids stacked in like a big trench coat.
Yeah,
like,
that's totally, exactly.
I love it. So continuing on with some of the musical arrangements, it's clear that you're such a talented musician, and I'm curious about how you build your songs. Are you a big self-editor? Do you really like to sort of, create an idea and then refine, or are you a little bit more like you just get it all out there?
Kind of depends on the song. Like Come to New York City, we did in a day. It was really simple, and we wanted to keep it like as honest as possible. We did like maybe the third take for the vocals, and it was very quick, and I didn't want to think too much about it, so I just wanted to sing it, and whatever I sang, that was what it was. Whereas other songs like Lipstick was truly a nightmare to nail.
Yeah.
We have like 10 different versions of it, and I really tried so hard to never sing it again. And Jake was like, I really think you need to try it just one more time. I really believe in this song. And I was like, I hate it. I don't want to do it. And he was like, please, like one day. And I was like, fine. And then we did it, and it was great. And he was totally right. And and that was really like probably the most intricate song musically.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, some of my favorite moments on the whole record is on that. But yeah, that was definitely a challenge to sort of find all the pieces to that puzzle, and also like be emotionally and available, and also patient when singing it.
Definitely. And kind of on the other hand, how do you feel vocally that you've really improved on this album?
Yeah, I mean, I've been singing since I could make sounds with my mouth. I mean, I've like been doing it forever, but I feel like I've been trying to find the honesty that I had as like a child.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I lost that, and I found it in this album. I think working with somebody that I know so well allowed me to not have any barriers or artifice. And if I did have artifice, he'd be like, hey, why are you doing it like that? And I'd be like, I don't know, actually. Thanks for pointing that out. So yeah, I feel like on this song, it is the most honest representation of how I say words and how I sing and what I want to sing about. And we definitely were very, very careful with the vocals, recording the vocals, and
I'm curious, kind of going back to the fact that we are here in your childhood home.
Yeah.
There's tons of music around. I'm looking around right now and I'm seeing a guitar, a ukulele. There's an amazing piano, grand piano over here. So I'm curious, did you grow up around music, and what was kind of your relationship growing up around music, especially in New York City?
Totally. I've got a lot of answers to that
question.
Yes,
feel free to take your time.
Cool. Both of my grandmothers are musicians, pianists, and songwriters. So I grew up with them as sort of like idols, and wanting to make them proud of me. My Italian grandmother once came up to me and was like, "You're the last one. Don't quit."
Oh.
And I was like, "Okay." Then I quit piano, I think, a year later. And then my other grandma is Jewish and writes really smart musicals on the piano, and
Incredible.
she has this song called October the Swift, and it's sung by a hypothetical drunk man, and it sounds very, she's just like, yeah, she's amazing. So I grew up with these women as sort of guiding lights. And then my mom was also in theater camp, so she led me in that. Yeah. She loves Sondheim and musical theater, and they actually found this recording of her singing when she was like 7. She had her sweet little accent, and it's crazy to hear her as a kid, and she's singing this song is like, "Good night, sweetheart, till we meet tomorrow." It's like this really old school song, I think from like the 40s. Mm-hmm. And she's got the most beautiful voice, but she was never told to, follow her dreams. I heard that, and I just felt so lucky that I had parents that were like, follow your dreams. And I was not good at singing when I was younger. When I was 9, yeah, we rewatched me singing Somewhere Over the Rainbow at theater camp, me and my ex-boyfriend. And he watched it, and he was like, did you cry after that? And I was like, oh my God.
Like he knew that you did?
Like he was like, you were so bad, you must have cried. And I was like, I truly thought I did a great job because everybody told me that I did a great job. I was just really nervous, and it was so clear. But yeah, so I really do attribute a lot of my progression as a musician simply to my parents making me think that I was good at what I was doing.
Well, it clearly paid off. It worked.
Which is great, yeah.
So one more thing that I want to talk about is you are a part of this. This kind of goes back to the collaboration. You're a part of this incredible supergroup that has just released its first slice of new music, Peach Fuzz.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that supergroup, how it came, who's in the band, how you met them all. Yeah.
The people in the band are me, Samia, Victoria Zara, who goes by Ryan, Sarah Labriola, who goes by Hank, Jake, Sachi, and Caleb. And yeah, we started it. There have been a bunch of different iterations of the band. Me, Sarah, and Samia started it out of the Craig in Williamsburg in 2019.
Cool. Wow.
We had like a business meeting at 9 p.m. and we were like, we're going to start a band. And then we didn't for a year until Victoria was like hanging out with us. And we were like, hey, you want to be in this band? And she was like, yeah. So that was sort of the real beginning of Peach Fuzz. And then I moved out to Minneapolis and I talked about it to Jake, and it was very much inspired by Baby Boys, which is Jake's side band.
His project, yeah.
And Nathan. And so they really inspired us to sort of dive into being a little bit more free with creating music, having no pressure, no like expectations. We had no idea what it was when we started writing. We just kind of all went into a room. It was the first time we were all in a room with like more than 3 people in months, because it was like November of 2020. It was also like the week of the election, and so it was a very like heated week.
Charged.
Yeah, it was very charged. So yeah, then we just kind of wrote a bunch of songs, and we chose 4 to release, and just kind of put them out there, and that was that.
Amazing, amazing. I would love to see what a Peach Fuzz show would potentially look like. I know it's difficult with all of your schedules, everybody's touring. But maybe yeah, if that ever happened, what would it look like?
Well, that's a great question. It would be weird. We talked about having like different things to do on stage, like a yoga mat, maybe some video games.
Choreography?
Yeah. We would all dance. We'd make it a world of its own. But who knows? Yeah, maybe it'll happen.
I love that. Well, I'm looking forward to that if it ever comes. Going, back to, or continuing on to playing live, you just finished supporting Del Water Gap and Modulator on tour this year. Yeah. What was it like kind of getting back on tour, going to some of these really cool venues around the country? Is it exciting? Is it nerve-wracking?
Oh, it's amazing. I really love going on tour. It's my favorite thing to do. It can be really lonely making music.
Yeah.
And that's sort of like the opposite feeling. You really feel like you're a part of something, and you feel like you're really working towards something in like an analog sense, which I feel like is kind of lacking nowadays. So it's really nice to really feel like you're progressing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys know about Fairway, but there's a grocery store.
Oh, Fairway, the grocery
Fairway,
store. Okay,
yeah.
I thought you were talking about a band.
That'd be a great band name,
Fairway.
actually. But my family and I always joke about having Fairway hands when we take the groceries home, because your hands hurt. But I feel like on tour, I always have Fairway hands, and it's sort of like my visceral reminder that I'm doing the right thing and I'm nourishing, this part of me that touring with Del Water Gap and Maud, it was awesome. I really am such a big fan of theirs, and they were really wonderful people, and their crews and teams and bandmates were really, really awesome too. So it was a lot of fun.
Amazing. And then the last question I have for you today is, what is something that you're hoping people will take away from Live, RAFF, Love? Part one. Excuse me, act one.
That's okay. I hope people have fun listening to it. I hope it maybe sparks feelings or memories that they might have forgotten about. I have really bad anxiety, and so I smoke a lot of weed, and that makes me forget things all the time. So I write songs a lot of the time simply just to remember feelings and things that have happened. And I feel like that has actually ended up sparking other things that I forgot, from years back. So I hope that maybe it allows people to remember things that they might have kind of buried. I hope that people dance. I hope people think. I hope people really listen to the lyrics. I had this epiphany in college, freshman year. I found out about Hozier. And I've just loved it all. And I went on to Genius. I didn't really know about Genius lyrics at that point for some reason. I was living in a hole. And I was reading his lyrics, and I was reading lyrics like Black Irises. Shit, I should have remembered this in the sunlight. There's some lyric about black irises in the sunlight, and I was just like thinking about these. It was just like really emotionally and also like mentally stimulating, and I was like, wow, you could have both at the same time. Music is magic. So I hope people maybe go onto Genius and look at the lyrics and maybe feel inspired in some way. That is a hope of mine.